cities, 2 college hoops experts, 1 Range Rover Sport, ESPN's Reese Davis.
First round of the tournament, and to get the juices going.
And Jay Billis.
I'm going to make my mark on this game.
Embark on the ultimate tournament road trip with assists along the way from Christian Laettner and Paul Pierce, setting the stage for a never-been-done-before challenge. Their big moment awaits. Watch at ESPN.com/Range Rover Sport. Land Rover, above and beyond.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Up, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio. 250-plus markets across the United States of America, from New York to L.A. and everything in between. Check your local listings. Plus, on Sirius XM, ESPN Radio, Channel 80. Number to call up as always is 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. Jam-packed show coming your way today. And don't you worry, I'll get into Odell Beckham Jr. in just a few moments. My God, I just can't believe it. I just can't believe it. It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks. No contracts. But before I get into Odell, let me say this, please. Let me say this. It's all about the brackets, baby. Nothing ruins this moment. It's all about the brackets. I mean, when you look at the Midwest Division, for example, you got 5 teams that could potentially win the national championship. You got Kansas as your number 1 seed, Duke as your number 2 seed, Michigan State as your number 3 seed, Auburn as your number 4 seed, Clemson as your number 5 seed, and oh, by the way, you can't dismiss NC State. You can't dismiss NC State. You got to take them into consideration. You can't ignore them. It's all about the brackets, baby. It's all about the brackets. H to the Izzo. Despite the problems that the Michigan State Spartans have had this year with that disgusting human being that's going to spend the rest of his natural life behind bars, hopefully in the basement with the rest of the sodomites of a jail cell, for crying out loud. Larry Nassar, the gymnastics coach, that's got nothing to do with the basketball team, but ultimately it tarnished Izzo. It tarnished Mark D'Antonio, the football coach of Michigan State. It tarnished everybody associated with Michigan State because everybody was wondering what the hell was known by whom. And so now that you got that out the way, and then you had issues with, pay for play or whatever it is that happened with players, or in Michigan State's case, particular players or former players that were accused of things that Tom Izzo allegedly didn't handle as adroitly as he could have. It's been a rough year for Michigan State. Didn't stop them, though, from winning 29 games. Didn't stop them from going 29-4. And by the way, 2 of those losses were to Michigan, who, by the way, is the number 3 seed in the West. So I'm looking at this right now, and all over the place. I mean, you got a whole bunch of teams that are relatively mediocre. Got a few great teams, but you just never know. Virginia, they're the number 1 seed, number 1 team in the country, yet they're out and they're in the South. And they're in the South as the number 1 seed, and guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Not only are they in the South as the number 1 seed, playing their first round games in Charlotte, but you know what else is on top of it all? And I'll be the first to admit I have no interest in watching Virginia. I hope they lose. And I respect the hell out of Tony Bennett. And I respect the hell out of those players. But I mean, goodness, those guys haven't allowed a team to score 70 points on them in a game all year long. I don't want to see that. They're so good defensively, they'll turn any game ugly. I just don't want to see that. So if there's ever an individual that was rooting against Virginia, I'm sorry to say to all of you folks in Charlottesville and beyond, I got to admit to you, I don't want to see Virginia win because I like up and down basketball, and that's not happening against them. That's just not happening. I look at the number 2 seed Cincinnati's a number 2 seed 30-4. And we all know they got a bunch of Rough Riders on their squad. I'm looking at Texas. My man Shaka Smart got up in there with 19 wins this year. I'm looking at Arizona as a number 4 seed, highway robbery with DeAndre Ayton. I mean, this kid's going to be the number 1 pick in the NBA draft. A number 4 seed, and I'm wondering about the FBI's investigation and how it sullied this NCAA tournament because you got a few teams that are on the outside looking in. And a couple of other teams, mainly Arizona and Auburn, who got lower seeds than they actually deserved, which makes you believe that the FBI investigation forced the NCAA committee to put them at a lower seed to try to make the road more difficult for them to get to the Final Four. In other words, facilitating their exit from the NCAA tournament. All of this stuff is stuff to think about. This is some very interesting stuff. Xavier's the number 1 seed out west. I mean, I'm just looking at this right now, these brackets. My goodness. Clearly, the South is no joke. I mean, think about this way. Ladies and gentlemen, if Virginia sits up there, right, and makes it to the Sweet 16, either Kentucky or Arizona is going to face them. Now, is that fair? 2 of the more talented teams in the nation. By the way, 2 of the teams we'd rather see down the line going up against Virginia rather than it being that early. Or maybe the NCAA was hoping that Virginia got knocked out early. Then that's why you put them in that kind of bracket. All of these things are things worthy of being thought about. There is no question about it. In the East, Villanova is the team to beat. We all know this. Purdue's a number 2 seed. I don't believe in them. I'm not ignoring Alabama, though. This kid Sexton is special. And you remember how Avery Johnson, I mean, he's the coach at Alabama. And you got to remember something about Avery Johnson. He loves the game of basketball. I mean, a game of basketball is very, very important to Avery Johnson. And so because basketball is important to Avery Johnson, okay, that team you can expect to be ready. Do you listen? Are you listening to Stephen A. Smith? Because Avery Johnson loves the game of basketball, especially the people in Brooklyn and the people in Dallas, Texas. And of course, from his home back down there in Louisiana, I mean, Avery Johnson loves the game of basketball. So they're going to be relevant, at least for the first round. That was my Avery Johnson imitation. Ladies and gentlemen, I can do that because he's my buddy. We're friends. We used to work together here at ESPN. I've known him for many years. I love him dearly, and I'm wishing him nothing but the best. But he's got a bad bracket because if he wins his first round game, he goes up against Villanova in the second round. Good luck with beating them. All of this stuff is stuff to pay attention to. All of it. And right now, I have no idea who the hell's going to do what. I won't tell you who my Final Four picks are until tomorrow. But I got to tell you something right now. I can't wait because it's all about the brackets, y'all. It's all about the brackets. 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. That's one of the things I want to talk about. Here's the other thing. I don't know how to say this. I'm going to try to be nice. This dude, Odell Beckham Jr. son now. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm at a loss for words. Practically. I mean, I have an obligation to give you some words because I can't give you silent airwaves over the radio, but I got to tell you something right now. I'm struggling. I truly, truly, truly am struggling. I'm trying to figure out how this young man could be so stupid to put himself in this position. Here you are, coming off injury. In the midst of all of that, looking to get paid in excess of $18 million annually, not just because you want to be the highest paid wide receiver in football. You're hell-bent on being the highest paid player in football. You won't pull that off, but there's potential there for you to be the highest paid receiver. All you got to do is ball and act right. And while your agent is on the phone trying to negotiate with the New York Giants, there is video circulating of you in a hotel room holding in your hand what appears to be a blunt, although we're not sure, with a woman who appears to be formulating lines of cocaine, it appears. And you're doing all of this while you're trying to get your money. That ain't a fool, ladies and gentlemen. That's a new fool. I'm going to reserve the rest of my comments before I take a deep breath and take a break. I'm going to reserve it until after I do that. Because I ain't going to lie to you. I don't even know what's going to come out of my mouth in the next few minutes. I ain't going to lie. It's Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. The number to call up, as always, is 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. You are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
3 cities, 2 college hoops experts, 1 Range Rover Sport. ESPN's Reese Davis and Jay Billis embark on the ultimate tournament road trip.
Doesn't this time of year get you going like no other time?
It's everything that's wonderful about storytelling and drama and sports and competition.
I'm going to do something that's never been done before. I'm going to make my mark.
With assists along the way from Christian Leitner.
I hit one big shot 25 years ago, and I'm still remembered for it today.
And Paul Pierce.
You know, if you want to pull off that epic shot, you got to put in the work. Come on now. Got to be mentally and physically ready.
Setting the stage in San Antonio for a never-been-done-before challenge.
It's a destination spot.
Gorgeous.
Great for a big moment, I think.
Well, you came through, and now the problem is I have to come through.
Their big moment awaits. Watch at ESPN.com/Range Rover Sport. Land Rover, above and beyond.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Right now, on a television screen, I am watching as the reigning defending World Series champions are visiting the White House. I'll let you know what I think about that over the next few minutes right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Getting back to Odell Beckham Jr. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm at a loss. See, I don't want to be one of those... It's just like, and again, I want to preface my comments by saying, we don't know if that was weed in his hand. It looked like it, but we don't know. Just like we don't know if that white powdered substance, that there were lines of it in front of the lady that Odell Beckham Jr. was with. Just like we don't know that was cocaine. Folks have deduced that's what it was. It's been reported, allegedly, that's what it was. But do we know definitively? No. Here's what I need everybody to understand. And I need everybody to get this through your thick skulls. And I'm going to preface my comments by giving a warning to the listeners out there today. Do not call up here on this radio show. Do not call up here in this radio show with that same sad, pathetic argument about how weed, assuming that that's what Odell Beckham Jr. had in his possession, shouldn't even be prohibited. It ain't about what should and shouldn't exist. Because if that's the case, alcohol shouldn't exist either. And maybe leagues shouldn't be doing business with beer distributors. And all of those things are valid points. But here's the other valid point. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter. The rules are the rules. You know what you signed up for. You either capitulate and acquiesce to them or you pay your penance. It's that simple. That's the grown-up world. I don't want to hear that argument because it's irrelevant. Not that you're wrong. It's just that it's irrelevant. And I'm not going to listen to it. You're going to hear a dial tone. I'm warning you right now. Back to Odell Beckham Jr. I personally like the kid. Even though he's not a kid, he's a young man. I'm very fond of him. I think he's a superstar talent. I think he's a nice guy. I don't think he's nearly as bad as people try to give him off as, but this is the reality. The reality is that Odell Beckham Jr. is fully aware of the rules and regulations. Odell Beckham Jr. is fully aware of the reality that he's pursuing mega dollars. He wants to get paid more than Antonio Brown, y'all. He wants to get paid more than Julio Jones, y'all. With the exception of Antonio Brown getting in trouble because he Facebook Lived the video of the Steelers in the locker room after they beat Kansas City last year in the AFC divisional playoff game. What has Antonio Brown done to tarnish his name, his legacy, his reputation? Nuno? Can't anybody help me out? Can anybody come up with anything that Antonio Brown has done? As far as I'm concerned, the only thing offensive Antonio Brown did was show up on Dancing with the Stars. And damn it, he wasn't that bad. So what's the problem? This is the reality. And I don't want to hear all of this garbage of an excuse by Odell Beckham Jr. You are the face of the New York Giants. You don't know better? I mean, I don't care if you got to strip search somebody and make sure they don't have cell phones and camera phones on their person. You do everything you can to protect yourself in the interest of yourself and the New York Giants. Period. There is no excuse to be this idiotic, this stupid, and to put yourself in this position. There is no excuse. I don't give a damn what anybody says. And we all know the NFL. We know how the NFL operates. We know how the world of business operates. And you know what it does? It doesn't look for an excuse or a reason to pay you what it's worth. It looks for a reason to exploit you, to get as much for your talents at the cheapest price imaginable. That happens throughout the world of business. Everybody knows this, which means that when you're trying to get your money, you don't do something so stupid to put yourself in a position to compromise your bottom line. Period. I said this on First Take this morning, which airs on ESPN every weekday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. And I'll say this to you right now. Ladies and gentlemen, when you are in the world of business, there are two things that they look for. It doesn't matter what profession you're in. These are the top two things that they look for. Your talents and whether or not you're trustworthy. Because if I have to pay you, not just for your years of service and what you've done, but based on projections of what you may do moving forward, I have to trust that you're going to deliver. And yes, your talent might look like it despite the injury that you sustained against San Diego early in the season. Your talent might still be there. Your speed may still be there. Those Velcro hands of yours may still be there. But what good is it if you find yourself getting suspended? What good is it if you find yourself compromising your team because your behind wasn't disciplined enough to stay out of trouble? We got an article, I believe it's by Pat Leonard of the New York Daily News today, contemplating whether or not Odell Beckham Jr. should get traded. And on one hand, you'll say, absolutely not. This kid is electrifying. On the other hand, he appears to be the kind of accident waiting to happen that if you're Dave Gettleman, the new GM, who's known for not having any affinity or an affection for players, or if you're Pat Sherman, a new coach who's all about discipline, maybe you trade Odell Beckham Jr. And here's my question, and I'm just going to throw this out there, ladies and gentlemen. Do you have faith? It's a two-part question. A, do you have faith in Odell Beckham Jr. that he can avoid trouble and be on the up and up to do all that he can to be the great football player that he is? And if your answer is no, do you trade him? Because, ladies and gentlemen, if you can get 2 first-round picks for Odell Beckham Jr., would he be worth it? You might think it's sacrilegious to ask those questions. But I'm just your friendly neighborhood radio host right now. I'm not one of these insiders reporting that that's what the New York Giants may consider doing. So this is real. And if you're a New York Giants and an Odell Beckham Jr. fan, it's a question you're going to have to answer. 888-729-3776. It's 888-SAY-ESPN. Your calls and more in a minute. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! 3 minutes Past hour, number one, back here in the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Number to call up is 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. Before I get to the calls, I want to read y'all something from the New York Daily newspaper, article written by Pat Leonard, covering this Giants situation in regards to Odell Beckham Jr., highlighting how Odell Beckham Jr. has undoubtedly damaged his market value at the worst possible time. Let me read these three graphs to you to sort of articulate and highlight my point about Odell Beckham Jr. This is from Pat Leonard's article in the New York Daily News. If the Giants were prepared to give Beckham a 5-year, $90 million contract at $60 million guaranteed, for example, a deal that would make him the number one wide receiver in annual salary at $18 million, perhaps the team is now inclined to only offer a 4-year, $60 million extension with $20 million guaranteed. So in other words, Pat Leonard is alluding to the guaranteed dollars in Odell Beckham's contract going from $60 million in guarantees to $20 million in guarantees. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a $40 million drop off. He continues. At $15 million annual salary would put Beckham only fifth among wide receivers, behind even his LSU teammate and best friend, the Browns' Jarvis Landry, $15.9 million on his franchise tag. And the reduced term and guaranteed money would be natural for a team hesitant to invest too much in such a volatile and reckless employee. So, ladies and gentlemen, they're labeling Odell Beckham Jr. volatile and reckless. He continues, or maybe the Giants will cut off negotiations altogether, knowing they can control Beckham for at least 3 more years by having him play on his 5th-year option in 2018 and applying consecutive franchise tags in 2019 and 2020. So, ladies and gentlemen, understand something. They could literally pull the plug on negotiations with Odell Beckham Jr., refuse to pay him, let him play out this 5th-year option, wondering whether or not he's going to get hurt. Undoubtedly so, he won't go 100% because he'll be scared of getting hurt. Then they can franchise tag him in 2019 and then again franchise tag him in 2020, which means they could control him for the next 3 years without investing in him long term. Do y'all know what it's like to go on an NFL field with 1-year deals? Because that's basically what we're talking about here, y'all. It's a 1-year deal this upcoming season. It's a 1-year deal in 2019, and it would be a 1-year deal franchise tagged in 2020. Now, in 2019, and if he got past that 2020, he would still get his money for being franchise tagged. But it would be year to year, and there would be no long-term commitment, which means he'd not only have to stay healthy the next 3 years, he'd have to act right. All because you don't know how to act like you got some damn sense and guard and protect yourself here. Where's the advisors? Where the hanger-ons? Where's the crew of dudes that's supposed to be watching your back, making sure that you don't put yourself in this position to get schooled like this, to get played like this? Where are they? Just a question. Just a question. Andy in New York, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me. Andy, are you there?
Yeah.
Go ahead, man. You're live on the airwaves. What's up?
How you doing, Stephen A? I'm doing pretty good here.
Go ahead, man.
My thing is this, and you're exactly right, Stephen A. You got to protect yourself. Why do you let somebody in your house with a cell phone so they can take pictures of you? And maybe it was a joint, maybe it wasn't. Like you said, we don't know that. But now, I'm from New York, just like you, Stephen A. If I see 4 lines in front of the girl and it's on a camera picture, and how do we know it ain't cocaine? Well, I'm pretty sure it wasn't crushed up Tylenol. You know what I'm saying? But the bottom line is you're 100% right. He's got to protect himself, and he should have better advisors. Where's his dad in all of this? You know?
Well, listen. The other thing is, listen. We can invite friends in our home and stuff like that, and I guess somebody could take video without you noticing or whatever. But what you got to make sure is that you're not doing anything incriminating for them to put on Instagram or to put over social media that could do damage to you. That's what you got to do. And if you're going to do it, could you do me a favor, please? Let it be a family member. Let it be a wife or something like that. Somebody that anybody can look at and go like this. Damn, they betrayed him. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, all of us get away from the public eye, all right? Get away from the lens of the camera or the microscopic impact of a microphone or whatever the case may be. We might say or do some things that we may not want the public to know, okay? But if you're with a loved one, it's totally plausible how you could get caught out there. Some Instagram female that you barely know, supposedly, who took the video and put it out there? Really? That's the position you put yourself in? Highly irresponsible, Andy. Highly irresponsible.
America, like you said, is out to save money wherever they can. I had a spinal fusion August 2nd. On August 10th, they gave me an MRI and dropped me on the floor and broke my back. And they don't even want to offer me $500,000. They done ruined my back for the rest of my life.
I got you. I appreciate your story. I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. 888-729-3776. It's 888-SAY-ESPN. We'll continue with more about this Odell Beckham Jr. situation. We will get into Tiger Woods. I have not forgotten him. It's a new day when it comes to Tiger Woods. I'll definitely explain that. Plus, we talk about the brackets. Always the brackets. And I'll explain to you what my issue, my problem was with Kevin Durant and something that he said. All that and more coming up as we continue right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Jenny had a dream of joining the national bobsled team. She worked out relentlessly and knew that if she just refused to give up, one day her dream would come true and she'd stand triumphantly up on the podium. But when her kids reminded her that she was 52 and she lived in Texas, and maybe she started dreaming this dream a little late in life, she gave up on not giving up. But then she heard how Geico could save her money on car insurance, so she switched and achieved that dream instead.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! Girl is back. Sexy, sexy. 45 minutes. Past hour number one back here in the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. A couple of items that you need to know. The Dolphins, 6-10 last year on the season. They're scheduled to release Ndamukong Suh. He's owed $16 million, $26 million cap hit. They are set to release him, and they just released former Pittsburgh Steeler Lawrence Timmons. So the Dolphins are making some move, coming off a 6-10 season last year, in which they lost 3 straight to end the season. And 8 of their last 10 games to end the year. Dolphins trying to make some moves. We'll see whether that works out for them. Listen live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, which is presented by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch to Progressive can save an average of $620. Again, reminding you, hour number 2, I'm going to get into Tiger Woods. I'm going to get into Kevin Durant and the Warriors. I'm going to get into Richard Sherman going with the 49ers. I'm going to get into a whole bunch of stuff. And of course, the brackets, the NCAA brackets. We can't forget that. Can't forget that at all. Let's go back to the phones at 888-SAY-ESPN. Let's go to Matt. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Matt?
Hey, good afternoon, Stephen A.
Talk to me, man.
First, I just want to say I love the perspective. I love what you're doing. I love not only the sports perspective, but the cultural perspective that you offer in the short amount of time that we're able to listen to you each day.
Thank you.
The Odell stuff it's just disheartening. I think if you look at the big picture, it speaks more to what an amazing job athletes like the LeBrons of the world, the Bradys of the world, the Jeters of the world, whether things are happening or not, they are athletes and role models that I am happy and proud to have my kids look up to.
I got you.
And it's about, I don't mean to interrupt, but it's about the handling, and they do a great job. And I appreciate the time. I look forward to your comments.
Thank you. I mean, listen, of course we appreciate athletes who are incredible role models. When you look at a guy like Odell Beckham Jr., who's 25 years of age, and you think about what LeBron James, the microscope he was put under at age 17, and how he has been pretty pristine. I mean, think about it. The only issue with LeBron James in his entire illustrious career was the decision and how he handled going to Miami. That's it. Not even him going to Miami. It was how he handled going to Miami. Do you realize that's the only thing that you can say about LeBron James? Just can't say enough about him. Incredibly responsible, incredible role model. You got to tip your cap to him, man. It's something special to behold. There's no question about that. And Tom Brady, listen, people might not like some decisions he made in regards to his personal life. That's none of our business. None of our business. As far as I'm concerned, he's one of the luckiest men alive. Gisele Bundchen, I mean, there's no disrespect to anybody, Bridget Monahan, anybody else. I mean, hey, there are a lot of people that would have made the same decision. For better or worse, they'd have made the same decision. He didn't break any laws. That's his personal business, his personal situation. It's none of our business. And he showed up on a week in, week out basis and played like a Hall of Famer. And remember what I told y'all weeks ago about minding your business? Tiger Woods, maybe if we weren't in his business so much, he wouldn't have tried to force himself to play when he was hurt. He would have healed a lot faster, and the game of golf wouldn't have suffered over the last few years because of it. But that's just me. 888-SAY-ESPN. Back to the phones we go. Let's go to Jordan in Minneapolis. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Jordan?
Hi there, Stephen A. I was calling in to see, when is Tom Thibodeau going to be on the hot seat? Just because if you look at it, Stephen A., he's constructed an NBA team to win 10 years ago, not currently.
The Minnesota Timberwolves are 39-29. If the playoffs were to begin today, he'd be in it. In his second season coaching the Minnesota Timberwolves. With all due respect, this is a very ignorant call. You might not like what he's doing in your world and in your taste, and that's fine. But to act like this is a man that should be on the hot seat when his team is 10 games above 500, Jimmy Butler is gone, and he still would be in position to be in the playoffs. What are you talking about, the hot seat? What hot seat should he be on?
Well, realistically, the Timberwolves are around 2 games out of not being in the playoffs.
But if the playoffs were to end today, where would they be?
They would be in the playoffs.
They would be the 5th seed. They would be the 5th seed. And you're talking about a man that his team should be the 5th seed. And you're talking about how this guy should be on the hot seat. Have you lost your mind?
I'm more of the thought process of they're winning in spite of.
Well, you're wrong. You're wrong. It's a very ignorant position to put in. And by the way, these same Minnesota Timberwolves are a team that hasn't been in the playoffs since 2004-2005 season. That's 13 years. And your behind is sitting here talking about how Tom Thibodeau is about to take him to the playoffs, should be on the hot seat. It's a highly ignorant call on your part. Just ignorant. Chris in Jersey, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Stephen. How you doing? Thanks for taking my call.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I spoke to you a little while back about the nonsense with Jerry Reese, but I got this stuff with OBJ. I just don't understand it, okay? Anybody that wants to get rid of this guy is not a Giant fan. What did he do, okay? He hasn't done anything that would require even thinking about getting rid of probably the best guy that ever played behind Lawrence Taylor. He didn't beat his boy with a stick. He didn't punch his girl in the face. He didn't do anything, okay? This is the NFL. He hangs with rock stars and rappers. I get it. He hangs with people that have a lot of money. Is he supposed to get up and run away because there's presence of drugs? They didn't see anything from that 2.5 second video.
Well, let me ask you a question. Was it smart for him to put himself in that situation if he's trying to get his money?
Absolutely not. And I think that's
Hold on. So what I'm saying to you is I'm getting on him, not because he committed a crime. I'm getting on him because he's done this in the midst of trying to get his money. That's just not smart.
I understand it was a bad look, but listen, if the Giants are worried, they're worldwide. I would have had a guy knocking on that door 10 minutes later asking him to pee in a cup. If you're worried, then test them. If not, pump the brakes.
That's a good point, Chris. That is a good point. I would be like, to test you right now. I would do that. That would make sense to me, Chris. I like that call. Chris, you make a very, very valid point. I'll give you that, Chris. Thanks a lot for the call. Randy in the Bronx, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Randy, go ahead.
Yeah, Stephen A., how you doing, buddy?
I'm all right. You only got a minute. Go ahead.
All right, well, I probably won't take up the whole minute. I just got to ask you, do you have to say something stupid 5 times every day with nothing to back it up?
Let me ask you a question. When have I said stuff with nothing to back it up? Because this is laughable.
Oh, today. You going to let me answer?
Tell me.
Today.
Go ahead. Tell me when.
Today, when you said the NCAA had an out for Virginia, do you have any sense?
Hold on. Wait. Time out. That is asinine. What I said was, you're the number 1 team in the South. You're the number 1 team in the nation. And before you get to the Sweet 16, or rather when you get to the Sweet 16, you'd be going up against Arizona or Kentucky in all likelihood. It was a tongue-in-cheek comment because when you're the number 1 team in the nation, you shouldn't have to go up against Kentucky or Arizona. Are you refuting that a number 1 team in the nation should have to go against one of those 2 programs that early?
Well, what, should they baby him the whole time?
Goodbye. You said I said something that couldn't back it up. I just backed it up and you answered the question with a question with your silly self. Call back up here when you're ready to debate with some sensible argument and I might listen to you. Until then, I gotta go to break. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Tiger Woods, the Warriors, more NFL bracketology coming up in hour number 2 with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. To hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show. Coming at you right here on ESPN Radio, as I love to do every weekday, 250 markets across the United States of America, from New York to L.A. and everything in between. Check your local listings, plus over the airwaves of ESPN Radio on Sirius XM, Channel 80. Number to call up, as always, is 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. The Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by Pennzoil Synthetics, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. So make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Couple of things I get into. I got into the brackets in hour number 1. I'll definitely do that again in hour number 2. The other thing is I want to get into is Tiger Woods, because he looked really, really good. Finished number 2 in the tournament over the weekend. Came in second place, just a stroke or 2 behind. Stroke, actually. He was incredibly impressive. Off the tee, his game on the green was very, very impressive. His putt game was solid. Fusion in the back doesn't appear to be ailing him any longer the way it once did. Very, very big deal. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if he's capable of doing the things he's capable of doing, or we saw him do, if he can get back to being 100% healthy, how much do you believe in Tiger Woods? Me personally, I don't think him being healthy is good enough. I think it's one of those situations where we have to look at him and, you know something? He's got to get his mojo back. I'm not talking about him engaging in dalliances out there and conducting himself in the trifling tendencies that he may have conducted himself, before. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm simply pointing to, what I'm simply ironing out and highlighting, more so than anything else, is that Tiger Woods did not care what anybody thought. That was the key to his success. See, everybody brings up all of these injuries. You know what everybody else doesn't bring up, Nuno? You know what they don't bring up? They don't bring up the fact that the injuries got worse when he started pressing himself because he was trying to make up for the embarrassment he had exposed himself and his family to. They keep forgetting that. Everybody act like it all happened at once. No, that's not what went down. Tiger Woods was training like a Navy SEAL, which wasn't smart. But the other side to all of that is what else Tiger Woods was doing? Tiger Woods was too busy trying to promote an image of himself that was false. When he got busted for its hypocrisy, he was embarrassed. And then after that felt absolutely positively compelled to make up for it in the eyes of the public. So even though he wasn't 100% healthy, he still went out there and played. He still went out there and pressed. And after he pressed himself, you know what happened? He cost himself because his health debilitated, because he kept pressing, Nuno. He kept pressing on and on and on and on, as opposed to rehabilitating himself, because he was trying to get people's minds off of the embarrassing situation and circumstances he had exposed himself and his family to. That's what happened. So when I see Tiger Woods out there on a golf course this weekend and he doesn't have a swing coach with him and he's just doing him, that is more impressive to me than his game. Because it says to me that he's back focused the way that he needs to be focused, and he can give 2 cents what anybody has to say. Or he believes everybody's past that. And I think that's very, very important. To me, that's what it comes down to. Tiger Woods can get that Tiger Woods back. I think he's got a chance. And I never thought that was possible before. But if he can get that back where he doesn't care at all about what anybody has to say other than about his golf game, I think he's got a shot to make some real noise. 888. Say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Don't know if y'all saw this on television last night. Y'all saw that Fox show about O.J. Simpson? I didn't get to watch much of it, but I watched some of it. I'm going to say this. Damn, he looked guilty. He really, really did. I mean, he just really did. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm somebody that always believed O.J. was guilty. I'm somebody that believes he needed to be under the jail. Throw away the damn key. I consider him a double murderer. Now, that doesn't mean that the charges against him for the daggone robbery in Vegas was legit. It was bogus. He had no business being sentenced to the 9 years in jail. It was completely ridiculous. And it was get back from the acquittal in the mid-90s. There's no doubt. But ladies and gentlemen, the man does deserve to be in jail for the rest of his natural life. I mean, he practically admitted it. You know what I mean? It's like, if I did it. I mean, Lord, wow. He's a double murderer. And I know that's not fair to say because, Stephen A. got off and it was the acquittal. You know what? You know why you know what would make it unfair to say that? If the trial wasn't on TV. And all we had to go by was the verdict coming from the court. But because the trial of the century was on the air and we all saw it and we all saw the preponderance of evidence leveled against him and we saw the blood in the Bronco and the trail of blood from the backyard and the bloody glove. And we know that Nicole, let's say, was doing things that would really agitate him and certainly not justifying it because I think he's a double murderer and should be in jail for the rest of his life. But when we talk about motive, he had motive and the evidence was there. And then for him to come on the air and admit what he admitted to the degree that he did, I ain't gonna lie to you, he looked guilty as hell. He really, really did. And it's just hard to imagine. That's just me. I mean, this is a guy that he's lucky to have his freedom right now. He truly, truly is. It's something to behold. 888 say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. But getting back to the caller that tried to call me out, I said 5 things that don't make any sense, please. Every day I speak, I make sense. You might not agree with it. You might not like it. But I never speak and not make sense. This is what I do. Keep that in mind. And what I said about Virginia, the real thing I said about Virginia is that I don't want to see him. And the reason why I don't want to see him is because Virginia, their defense is so awesome, they'll make every game ugly. They just got locked down defenders. They'll shut you down, man. And that's just the way I look at it. I don't underestimate anything, but I don't want to see 50 and 60 point games. I just don't want to see that. I want to see some exciting up and down basketball. And speaking of up and down basketball, that makes you think about the Warriors, don't you? That's one of the reasons I was unhappy with Kevin Durant yesterday. Great basketball ambassador, phenomenal superstar basketball player, not taking anything away from him, but I don't want to hear no whining about how we miss Steph Curry. Steph Curry took the Warriors to Game 7 of an NBA Finals when there was no Kevin Durant. Now that you got Kevin Durant there, even though Steph Curry is out, although he's not expected to be out long, even if he was, I still expect Golden State to make that kind of noise because Kevin Durant is a superstar. Kevin Durant is a superstar. And I just want to see him do what I saw Steph Curry do without Steph Curry. I want to see him do that. What Steph Curry did without him years ago. I want to see. That's my expectation for Kevin Durant, the superstar. I understand that the Warriors are not the same without Steph Curry. I get that. But in the event that Kevin Durant is healthy with Klay Thompson and Draymond Green and the rest of the crew, even if Steph Curry is not there, I still expect big things from the Warriors. And I don't think Kevin Durant has the excuse of leaning on the absence of Steph Curry to say why they didn't advance as far as they could. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. More to Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio in a minute.
Hello, I'd like to deposit this to checking.
Fate is a fickle master.
What?
The future is uncertain.
Okay, and what's my account balance?
The horizon is cloudy. I see a long, treacherous voyage filled with great peril.
Look, can I just get a deposit slip or something?
A fortune bank teller. Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
I see a yellow-eyed serpent and a low APR.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Back to the phones we go with 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Kevin in Michigan, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Kevin, Stephen A., I was just wondering, after the outside the lines reports and allegations against Tom Izzo, thought it was kind of interesting that he was able to just ignore all the questions and kind of keep coaching. There was no suspended paid leave, anything like that. I was just curious your take on that and thought I didn't
have a problem with it. You know why, Kevin?
Why?
Because it's a legal matter that's unresolved, and he, at the advice of legal counsel for the university, can't say anything. Now, if it was one of those situations where that wasn't the case, that would be different. But because that's the situation, what's he supposed to do?
Right, so it's best for him to just follow the legal advice then.
Well, I'm just saying he has no choice because it can make him liable. It can make the university liable. See, these are the kind of issues that you have to deal with. And even before the situation involving one of his former players, remember, and listen, to me, the one question that was fair to ask Mark D'Antonio, the football coach, or Tom Izzo, the basketball coach, was this. In any way were you guys aware, had you heard about what Larry Nassar, the gymnastics coach, was doing to those kids? Outside of that, outside of demanding an answer to that question, I don't blame them for being silent. Because it's a no-win situation. You talk about over 100 kids were molested, sexually assaulted. I mean, you have to answer that question as to whether or not you knew. But beyond that one element, what can you say, Kevin?
Yeah, I suppose you're right. I mean, so it's probably just a matter until the investigation's over with. If they find anything more, then.
Yeah, I don't know what else he could do. But as it pertains to his players and what he knew in terms of their behavior, guys still being an assistant coach, a grad assistant, being allowed to play, that's entirely different. That's entirely different. Those are legitimate questions to interrogate Tom Izzo about. No doubt about that. Suge in Michigan, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
What's good, Stephen A?
I'm good. Talk to me, man.
I'm with you on the Kevin Durant thing when you say you don't want to hear about him missing stuff. I'm with you on that. But on the flip side, I mean, the guy that averaged 39 points.
Well, that's what. No. Hold on. I'm not getting on him about his game at all. A matter of fact, it's because of his game that I'm saying I don't want to hear that. In other words, you're a superstar, playing like a superstar. I want to hear about who you miss. Get it done.
Right. I feel you on that too. Okay, Stephen A. One more little quick question, man. It's like for my personal. I mean, you look like a basketball genius to me. You know, in my eyes.
Thank you.
So. I know you love your job. This is no disrespect to your job because you said it 1,000 times how you love your job. My thing is, in the future, near down the road of your career, would we see a Stephen A. Smith with the right time, right situation, right contract? Could I see you on the sideline as a head coach in the National Basketball Association?
Never. But I would tell you what I would consider. I'd consider a president of basketball operations job.
Beautiful. You deserve it.
Particularly for the New York Knicks. I mean, I would have to consider, moonlighting or giving up my career if James Dolan came to me to run the New York Knicks. Because I am so disgusted with the state of the New York Knicks and what New Yorkers have been subjected to for more than 3 decades as far as I'm concerned. It drives me nuts. I would have to consider that. Because I tell you this much. I tell you where I know I would make the right decisions. I'd know who to hire. I'd know who to hire to help me. I'd have no doubt about it. My team would be easily assembled. Easily assembled.
I really wanted to know that.
That's right. Say what?
I really wanted to know that. Would you,
not a
consider
coach.
coaching?
No, not coaching. Not coaching. I'm not that kind of basketball mind. I'm an overseer. I know talent and I know what people should be doing. But the nuances of coaching, with everybody from the Mark Jacksons of the world and Doc Rivers to the Jeff Van Gundy's of the world and others. No, I'm not. I don't know it like that. I'm not going to pretend to know it like that. I'm an overseer. So for me, I would be watching. It would be as president of basketball operations. Absolutely. I appreciate the calls, Jill. Thanks a lot, my man. Let's go to Mixon in the Bronx. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, Mixon.
Hey, what's up, Steve? Thanks for taking the call.
Thank you for calling.
I got a question and 2 quick statements, if I can.
Go ahead.
If Odell Beckham, if he was drug tested today and he tested positive, is that a suspendable offense?
I believe it is. According to league rules.
Now,
but I'm not sure if they're allowed to test him right now. I gotta look again into the CBA in terms of when you can test players and how often you can. But I would tell you if there was a positive test, there would definitely be repercussions. That I could tell you. Go ahead.
Now, if you or I were to be caught on video doing that, that would be considered a vulnerable offense.
Yeah, but a lot of times situations like that end up with parole or fine. Let's not go overboard here. It's not like the dude deserves to be in prison or something like that. What I'm saying is, in the end, what this comes down to is that you get yourself caught in this situation in the midst of trying to get your money. That's the crime here.
So my last point is, a guy like Jerry West of the world, sorry.
Don't worry about it. It's okay. Just ask the question. Forget about the individual. What's the question?
Randy Moss should grab this guy and tell him, you are special. You are talented.
Everybody's been telling him that. Everybody's been telling him that, Mixon. He knows he's special. That's part of the problem.
Well, you know what? Then I think it's time for him to go. I'm a diehard Giant fan, and I love him. I love him.
Yeah,
but
you know what? If you love him, then don't give up on him so easily, man. He's a superstar. Don't give up on him so easily. You know what? Just have a contract with him with behavioral restrictions. You can't get behavioral stipulations, rather. You can't get yourself in these kind of troubles. You just can't do that. And remember something else very, very important, y'all. Remember that players who are not in the drug program are only tested once a year between April 20th and August 9th. That's according to the league rules. Players who aren't in the drug program are only tested once a year between April 20th and August 9th. So between April 20th and August 9th, Odell Beckham Jr. is going to get tested. And if he doesn't test positive, guess what? You can't test until next April. That's probably why it was kind of smart for him to do what he did if he was going to do that, to do it now. Because guess what? You can't test him until April 20th at the earliest. Lucky him. More to Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio in a minute.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful month in the world of sports because it's March Madness, one of my favorite times of the year. Cinderellas are always somewhere, and these surprise teams come out of nowhere, et cetera, et cetera. That's always a beautiful thing. Spring training is in full effect. I'm looking forward to seeing my Yankees return to true form, being the Bronx Bombers that they are, heart of their order, with Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton and Gary Sanchez. I just can't wait. Okay, built up Neil Walker in a 1-year deal, by the way, to play second base for them. That's going to be interesting. And I'm a fan of Didi Gregorius as well, because after the way he performed in the postseason last year, but I got to keep my eyes on the World Series champion, the Houston Astros. I got to see that. I got to keep my eyes on them. And by the way, they showed up to the White House today. Listen, I'm not casting any aspersions, no judgments. And I've said this on many, many occasions. My issues with the president, I mean, listen, what it comes down to is that from a policy perspective, the prism of history will show us whether his moves were right or wrong. In some people's eyes, it don't appear to be right. I'm pretty suspect on all of these politicians that want to speak against him when they were all getting along with him just fine until he ran for office. He was their best buddy until he ran for office, and then all of a sudden you want to talk about what a despicable human being he is. I'm not down with that. I don't agree with a lot of things, but primarily with what I don't agree with, I believe the president of the United States, you got to be a statesman. You got to conduct yourself in upstanding fashion, because you're the example that we shine upon the world to see. And you can't be acting up and tweeting all the damn time and acting like a 17-year-old when you're the president of the United States. I stand by that. But I don't get into the minutia of the politics. Economy seems to be doing well. People have their opinions about the whole tariff tax and relations with China and willing to meet Kim Jong-un for North Korea. I ain't getting into all of that. That's above my level. Listen to Joe Madison, Sirius XM. Urban View Channel 126, 6 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Love that man. Somebody that deserves to be respected and revered, particularly from the African-American community. Karen Hunter on 3 to 6 rather. Every day, same channel. But I also know my man Sean Hannity and the great one, Mark Levin. Listen to them too. Y'all debate and go back and forth with each other because they know a hell of a lot more than I'll ever hope to know. But I think about stuff like that when we talk about holding athletes accountable, holding 19 and 20 and 25-year-olds accountable. Pretty hard. I can get on Odell Beckham Jr., but the only reason I'm getting on him is because I think he's getting in the way of his own money, and I don't want him to do that. But I don't think Joe Blow has a right out there to hold him accountable, but then don't hold politicians who legislate and formulate policy that affect our lives, and you don't hold them accountable. What kind of sense does that make? At the end of the day, whatever Odell Beckham Jr. is doing, he's doing harm to himself. Politicians are doing harm to us. There's a difference. And I think we need to keep that distinction into its proper perspective and consideration. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Carol, she's a truck driver. She's live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Carol, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And how are you? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you so much for calling. Go ahead.
Awesome. Thank you. I just want to say about, first off, thank you, the Raiders, for cutting Sean Smith. Should have happened 2.5 years ago. He's a bum.
Okay.
And secondly, OBJ, my son's favorite team is the Giants. I think he's a great talent, and he needs to get paid. But I don't know that he needs to get paid more than Antonio Brown, even though I don't like the Steelers.
He doesn't need to get paid more than Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown is a superstar wide receiver in the NFL who shows up when it really, really counts. Odell Beckham Jr. has not done that yet. He's shown up in the regular season. He has not shown up in the postseason. There's no way on earth he deserves to be paid more than Antonio Brown at this particular juncture.
I agree with that, but he does need to get out of his own way. You're right there. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for calling. I hope
thank you for your show and keeping me safe out here.
I appreciate that. Keep listening, Carol. Thank you so much for calling. Jim in Indy, you're live with Stephen A. What's up, Jim?
Hey, Stephen A., thanks.
Thank you.
I've got a question for you about the Yankees. Do you believe that it's a World Series championship or bust?
I wouldn't say bust. Because what if they lost to the Astros again? They're the reigning defending World Series champions. I mean, Altuve and the crew and Correa and those boys, they some bad brothers, and you still got Verlander and Kuechly and those boys. I mean, Keuchel rather, Keuchel. I mean, I can't sit up there and dismiss those guys. I can't do that. They're the reigning World Series champions.
Yep, I agree with you. And my follow-up question would be, how many busts would Boone or some of the other management get before they would get rid of them then? Would it be 2, 3 years? I just wonder how long that leash is.
Listen, with the Yankees, it's year to year, and I'll tell you why, because there's certain demands in the New York market. And don't get me wrong, I would like to believe that Boone has at least 2 to 3 years, but if they really, really stink up the joint, particularly when you got rid of Girardi, if they really stink with Boone, you shouldn't just get rid of Boone, you should get rid of Cashman. Because why you let go of Joe Girardi? I mean, right. I'm looking at these guys right now. Like I said, I go back to the Astros. You got Keuchel, you got McCullers, you got Verlander and the boys. I can't dismiss what I've seen from these guys. I can't dismiss it. And so I'm looking at it and I'm saying, look, the Houston Astros can definitely be favorites, but as it pertains to the Yankees, listen, you got Correa, you got Stanton, you got Judge, not Correa, you got Stanton, you got Judge, you got, Sanchez and the boys. Look, you've got enough of a power lineup where I think it should be a rematch of the ALCS.
Can't disagree with you there. And it seems like baseball coaches don't get afforded the same patience as other coaches do, like football, because there's no system now. It seems all analytics driven.
Well, it's all analytics, and because it's all analytics, usually you see guys getting dismissed, man, because they're not willing to follow the program. And that's usually what happens. And clearly the Yankees have gone the analytics route more, and they've got somebody in Boone that's more receptive to that than, say, a Joe Girardi. At least that's the impression, but we shall find out. We shall see. Appreciate the call. Thank you so much. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. We've been talking about the brackets. We've been talking about the Warriors. We've been talking about some NBA action. We got into the Yankees a little bit. I mentioned Tiger Woods on the way back. Did you see something worth believing in? The list goes on and on. Stick around. We'll close out the show with your calls in a minute. You're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! Back to the phones. We go at 888-SAY-ESPN. Let's go to Ronell in Atlanta. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is why I admire you, Stephen A. Smith, because you're cognizant that you're like an unspoken word for the community and as black people. And I just wish more players, not just Odell Beckham Jr., but a lot of them just seems to don't have that in them. It's like, dude, everything you do is an influence, not just his teammates, but also the kids who buy his jersey, watch him on TV, trying to imitate him, have the same hairstyle. I'm like, he don't get it that he's a role model.
Well, hold on. Let's say this. Odell Beckham Jr. isn't hurting anybody but himself right now. Let's put that in its proper perspective. That's number one. Number two, I got on him because he's getting in the way of himself and costing himself his own money, which ain't smart, okay? But it's not like Odell Beckham Jr. is walking around here committing crimes. He just needs to grow up and be a bit more disciplined. Let's put it in its proper perspective. Let's not talk about this dude like he's doing harm to other people. Let's be careful about that, okay?
I agree with that, though, but it's like, just have Chris Carter was a Hall of Famer after the Philadelphia Eagles. You know what I'm saying? So, and I believe that Giants is a top-notch organization in the NFL. Okay. So I think they may have to consider taking phone calls. And I say trade them, but taking them just to say, look,
scaring them a little bit and letting them know that the brand is bigger than yourself. And listen, you better fly straight, you better fly right. Otherwise, we're gonna get rid of you. I appreciate the call, Ronell. Let's talk tomorrow when we've got more time. Let's go to Joe in Virginia. You're live at Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Joe? How are you?
Joe, let me preface this by saying I'm a Hokie fan and not a UVA fan.
Okay.
However, you've got to respect what UVA does defensively.
I do. Hold on. Whoa. Stop right there. Who the hell is not respecting them defensively? We said that they haven't allowed the team to score 70 on them all year. The problem with it is that they turn any game ugly because their defense is so elite. How is that not respecting their defense? Well, how is that not respecting their defense?
Well, by saying things like the committee probably doesn't want them to go very far in the tournament.
Let me explain why. Did the bad boy Pistons win championships?
Oh, absolutely.
Did the NBA like that? Considering the fact that they would mug you and they got physical and they incorporated the Jordan rules as opposed to having Showtime or something similar to it? Isn't it true that the NBA wanted to up the pace and get rid of some of these backyard rules so it can quicken the pace and make the game more entertaining? Isn't that true?
A lot of people that appreciate what they're doing.
That's not what I asked you. You don't get to answer my question in a way that doesn't address my question. I asked you, did the NBA not change the game in large part because of the roughhouse tactics employed by the bad boys and then after that by Pat Riley's New York Knicks? Is that or is that not a fact?
Well, that's a fact, but I don't know how that relates to Virginia.
Let me explain. The point is that when you have a team that's not quote unquote attractive because they're physical and they're stout defensively, and people are of the belief that an up-tempo brand of basketball is more attractive to the viewing public. If you're the NCAA and most of the money that you make, like the $1 billion you just made, with $761 million came from March Madness, you might want those teams to be a bit more attractive. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm saying that it's plausible and it happens.
Well, I guess that's why Baskin-Robbins has 31 flavors. People like different things.
I got you. Have a nice day. You are certainly enlightening. I just wanted to congratulate you on how enlightening you were, sir, by telling us people like different things. I mean, my God, stop the presses. This is breaking news there. My goodness. Let's go to Tyler in Philly. You're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Tyler, go ahead.
Hey, Stephen A. I don't know if you've touched on it last couple of weeks. Sport of boxing real quick. What's your take on the whole thing that surfaced with Canelo and the Clinton?
You missed it. You missed it. I could give a damn about it. Figure it out. Find a way to fix it. I don't want anything interrupting my Cinco de Mayo. Triple G's fighting Canelo in a rematch. I will be there. I can't wait for this fight to happen, and I damn sure don't want it to be tarnished because of bad meat that's got some kind of substance in it that these guys in Mexico take. I could give a damn. Figure it out. Get over it, and make sure there is nothing that interrupts my Cinco de Mayo. That's all that I ask. Okay? Kevin in Mobile, you got 30 seconds, literally. Go.
Hey, how's it going, Stephen A?
You got 30 seconds. Go.
Hey, man, Odell Beckham Jr. is a piece of garbage, okay? He is a bad role model. Why are you on here defending him?
Who's defending him? I'm not defending him.
I've been listening to you defend him.
That's not true.
That's who's been defending him.
That's not true. That's not true. I'm not defending him. I said it was a stupid thing for him to do. It's an exercise in stupidity. That's exactly what I said. Have a nice day. We can talk about it tomorrow. So people don't listen to me now. Now they're putting words into my mouth. Now I'm accused of defending Odell Beckham Jr. when I've done nothing of the sort. But that's the way it goes. Luckily, I got my own radio show to debunk such rhetoric. Talk to y'all in 22 hours. Until then, peace and love, everybody.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.